Hello friends, welcome to Savannah Knits. This is my knitting podcast where I talk all about the things that I'm knitting that are bringing me joy. My name is Savannah and I live in Utah in the United States where I am a stay-at-home mom. And today we have one finished object, we have a couple of whips that you have seen before, and then a new whip that I am excited to show you. Maybe this episode will be on the shorter side. We shall see. Maybe I just jinxed myself. Who knows? But without further ado, let's get into it. Before I show you my finished object, I want to briefly mention what I am wearing. I am wearing the Pillars of Simplicity top by Claire Jackson of Perfectly Knotted. And it is knit up in Capella Luna fibers in her DK base called Hollywood Theater. I made this, I think in April, early spring, and I have gotten a lot of wear out of it. It's one of my favorite tees that I've ever made. So yeah, that's what I'm wearing today. My first and only finished object is actually a gift knit for Christmas. I made the Baker's Hat by Emily Russell, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. And here it is. Very cute, very simple. It is folded. So yeah, folded there. You work it from the bottom to the top, and you do create a little knit row right here to make it easier to fold. I guess it would technically be a purl row, but it was a knit row because you're working up. And then it has a very pretty square decrease at the top. So yes, as I mentioned before, this is a gift for my dad. I mentioned that he has a crochet one that I made him years ago, and I wanted to make him a knitted one now, and one that is a lot warmer because his crochet one is made out of acrylic and this one is made out of wool, so he has a warmer option. And let's see, I used 5mm needles for this. It calls for 4mm, but I am always a tight knitter, so 5mm. I used Cascade 220 in Doeskin Heather, so this very pretty brown color, tannish brown, which is perfect for my dad. I feel like he would only wear this if it was low profile and tan. Like tan is one of his favorite colors. He loves the light brown colors, just the brown palette in general. So I think I picked a good color, although I did just use stash yarn for this. I had some left over from making my Courage Henley, which will be coming out soon. I think it gets released on Saturday. So I will definitely talk a little bit about that sweater next week as well. But yeah, used extra yarn for this. It was a very, very quick and easy knit. I did it in 5 days from October 2nd to October 6th, I think. So did not take long at all. I probably could have done it in a couple hours if I had just sat down and did it in one sitting, but I did use this as kind of my sock knitting, getting it done whenever I can, whenever my kids are playing nicely, or at a park or something. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this turned out. I will put it on for you. Very cozy. Love it. And I might need to make myself one because it was just, yeah, very quick, very easy, flattering, simple. Love it. My next whip is the Selbu Mittens, and it is from this book, Norwegian Knitting Designs 90 Years Later. And it's actually this pattern here on the front, which I didn't realize until I was editing my last video, and I was like, oh my gosh. That's the pattern that I'm making. How did I not realize this when I started it? I do not know. But I am making these for my mom. It is another gift knit for Christmas. Here's a picture of the finished product. Very, very beautiful, very traditionally Scandinavian mitten pattern. And I will show you what I have so far. It's magic! Look at that! I've done colorwork before, but this looks so good. I think it's because I've never done colorwork smaller than worsted weight gauge, and this is a sport weight, and it looks so incredibly detailed. Like, look at those little triangle pattern, the tiny little stitches connecting these like flowers. Oh my goodness, I am obsessed. So I am making these. I used a 2.25 millimeter for the cuff right here, which is tight. They're supposed to be tighter fitting mittens, but again, I'm a tight knitter, so they are a little bit too tight, but that's okay. Superwash yarn, I think it will be okay. And then I'm knitting the colorwork portion in a 2.75 millimeter in tiny circulars. And I am using Cascade Heritage 6 in Christmas Red and Snow are the colors. Honestly, perfect for a winter mitten to have these colors named that. And as you can see, I have put stitches on hold for the thumb here. There's the thumb design. So pretty. I will try it on for you so you can see how tight it is. I hope it'll be okay. I think it will. As I mentioned, superwash yarn should be fine. So yeah, let me get this out of the way. Got that side, got this side. And yeah, this is tight. Like, I can barely fit my thumb in there. It is stretching out stitches a little bit. If you can see that right there, it's stretching those out, but I'm not too worried. Also, my mom is one to, she probably won't wear these a ton, which I'm okay with. I know that going in. She is one of those people that will probably frame these. Like, she'll be like, no, they're too pretty to wear. I don't want to wear them and ruin them. Which it's her gift. The thing about gift knitting that I have learned is that once you give the item away, you have to let go of control and let go of your feelings about it. You have made it. You have given it to the person. Your job is over. You can't judge how they choose to wear it, when they choose to wear it, if they choose to wear it. It's out of your hands. And I feel like I have had to learn that kind of the hard way. When I learned to crochet, I learned to crochet when I was like 9, and I mostly did gift knitting when I was growing up, just making things for friends, sometimes family members, and honestly, it wasn't great crocheting, so I shouldn't be surprised that a lot of it wasn't used or appreciated in the way that I expected it to. So over the years, I've just learned that once you give something away, it's out of your control, and you're just happy that you made it and gifted it, and whether they choose to wear it or not is completely up to them, and that's okay. So yeah, I was honestly kind of expecting her to say something like that when she told me that she just wanted to frame them, which that's fine. I know that she will appreciate the work going into it. I know that she will think that they're beautiful. So if they're a little bit too tight, that's just maybe okay because he won't wear them a ton. But I'm still holding out hope that Superwash will just expand this, especially if I block it. And I think my sock blockers might make it too big, and I don't really want to buy mitten blockers because I don't plan on making a lot of mittens in my future. But I've seen people cut out cardboard like to the shape of their hand and their wrist and use that as a mitten blocker. So I might try that if it's proving to be a little bit difficult. Also, last time I mentioned that I was so worried about the yarn bleeding, and most of you were right. I needed to make a swatch and try it beforehand before going through all this work. So I appreciate all of the comments, and support in my last video about that, because yeah, I just need to suck it up and do a swatch. Maybe becoming a knitting YouTuber will make me swatch more. Wouldn't that be something? So I did make a little swatch. Look at how chaotic it is. I call it my chaos swatch. And then I remembered how to do the lice stitch when I got to the end. So then I started doing the lice stitch and I was like, why didn't I just do that the whole time? Instead, I was just doing random things, like random little columns and clusters and whatever. But, ladies and gentlemen, I blocked this. And look, there's no bleeding. Look at that. It's white as snow. Get it? Because the yarn is called snow. Sorry, I have a really bad habit of explaining jokes because that's what my husband does. He makes a joke and then explains it to you, and then it's not funny anymore. Anyways, I took most of your all's recommendation. I did vinegar, cold water, soaked it, and it's perfection. Also, the water didn't turn any sort of color, so I don't know what would happen if I hadn't have used the vinegar and the cold water. I don't know. I don't know much about this type of blocking with the vinegar and the cold water, but it worked. So I can go ahead, knit these to my heart's content, and not have to worry about color bleeding. Hallelujah. I have been knitting these faster than I thought. I've only been working on them for 11 days, just here and there whenever I'm in the mood for color work. I do have to be in a specific mood for color work. Sometimes it's too much brain power to use, and sometimes I'm just craving it. So I am happy with how these are coming along. I would say I'm halfway through this first mitten. So yeah, just very pleased with how this is going. Last time I was here with this stitch marker that I added. So now we can move the stitch marker up. Stitch marker moved up. And do you like my cactus needle stoppers? It's giving like Christmas in the desert. It's fun. Fun. My next and biggest whip is the Book Club Cardigan by Sari Nordlund. And I am knitting this on Drops Nepal light beige, which is worsted weight yarn. And I am using 4mm needles. And let's see, the last time I had finished the back, so here's the back again, but I have now added both front panels. So it should go like this. Yeah. So yeah, I have been knitting like a mad woman and joined in the underarms already, right here. Oh my goodness, you can't even see because of all this yarn in the way. I had a real time with trying to join this on the underarms. Not the actual joining, but just the measurements weren't adding up. You're supposed to knit, for my size 4, you're supposed to knit this back panel until it's 3.5 inches, I think, which I hit, or I thought I hit. And then you're supposed to knit these front panels around 12 inches, but where you stop on the front panel is supposed to be the same chart row as the back panel, so when you join on in the underarms, you're just knitting the same row, so it all lines up, right? But I could not get the same row. I was like an inch short on the front panels to match the back panel, and so I went back to this back panel and I measured again, and I think I may have stretched it a little bit when I was measuring the back panel at first. I was only getting 3 inches, maybe 3.25 inches. So I ended up going back to the back panel and I added around 4 more rows, which then gave me, man, I wish I could remember the measurements, but it gave me a little bit more than what the pattern suggested should be for the back panel. But figuring out my gauge, that's how many rows I needed to go in order to hit that mark with the front panel. And I really wanted to hit that mark for the front panel. I feel like that was more important than hitting the measurement for the back panel. So I did the 4 rows in the back panel, went back to the front panel, added those rows until I matched up in the chart and measured, and I hit that measurement of 12 and whatever inches for the front. So that worked out well. I'm glad that I figured that out by adding more length to the back, and honestly, I think I'm glad that I did, because reading a lot of Ravelry notes, a lot of people are mentioning that it is kind of a short armhole depth. And trying this on, I mean, I did try it on with try-on tubing, and the tubing just kept coming off of my needles, and I would lose stitches and I'd have to pick them back up, and it was stressful and I didn't want to deal with it. So I was like, okay, whatever, it'll fit. But from what I could tell during that is they were a little bit tight. But as I'm knitting these rounds, I've knit about an inch after the underarm, under the underarms, and it does seem to the weight of it seems to be pulling it down a little. So I think it'll be fine. I'm also expecting this to grow a little bit from what I've heard about Drops Nepal and just cables opening up, and I feel like when I block, things always get bigger. I've never had a thing get smaller when I block it, ever. Unless I accidentally shrunk it. I have done that quite a bit. But I think shrunk it when sometimes I put things in the dryer. I should stop doing that. Anyways, I think it'll be okay. I am being optimistic about it. Let's see. I am getting a little bit of hand pain working on these cables. I don't know if it's because I'm doing it without a cable needle or if it's just the nature of doing so many cables on a row, especially when it is the cable rows. So I haven't been able to work on it as fast as I want, and I think just working on these front panels in so short a time, like I worked on both of these panels in a week. Like that's fast. My hand is paying for it a little bit. So I'm taking it slow because I don't want to further injure it or anything. So just doing a couple of rows here and there. I will be taking it slow in the future as well. I have a new project that I'm very excited about that I have yarn coming for in a couple days. That will be my priority when it gets here. It is another like spur of the moment cast on and yarn purchase, which I seem to be doing a lot lately and I need to tone it down. But this next one is also more of an urgent knit. I want it soon. I will let you know about it next week. Or if you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably see something in my stories when the yarn comes. But anyways, it's just making me feel better about doing that thing when I get it and taking a break from this, because while I find the cables engaging and I find the process of, or just like how it's looking very enjoyable, like the yarn is good to work with and everything, I don't love the hand pain. So yeah, I'll be doing it a little bit slower. You won't see probably as much progress from me on this, but that's okay. It will be my slow and steady, beautiful cardigan. I have also decided not to do the pockets on this cardigan. I think it will add extra bulk around the hips that I don't want. I also don't imagine myself using the pockets hardly at all, and I feel like it kind of distracts from the overall cable pattern. I feel like my eye automatically goes to those pockets and not to the beautiful pattern of the cardigan, so I won't be doing that. And I've also heard people running short on yarn, that the yarn estimates aren't that accurate, so I will not be doing the pockets, and I feel good about that decision. So that should make this a little bit faster. It will be my first time doing a double knit button band, so we'll see how that goes. And let's see, I've been working on this for 20 days. Now we can move the stitch marker from there. That's where I was. with the finishing the back panel, and I will go ahead and move that down a couple rows. There we go. So that is my Book Club Cardigan by Sari Nordlund. My last work in progress for you is the Musselburgh Hat by Ysolde Teague. I have seen everyone make this pattern, so I had to see what it was all about. I am knitting one up in Treehouse Knits Spruce Sock in I Smell Snow. It is a white cream, I wouldn't even say it's cream, maybe a little bit, but it has very, very light variegation with some purples and greens and pinks. Just very, 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 very light, which I loved when I saw. So I was originally bought that yarn to make socks, but I'm thinking the socks will just get dirty. I'm already noticing that with another pair of lightly colored socks that I have. So I decided to make a hat, and because I don't have a wool hat yet that I have made myself, I have a wool acrylic blend hat that's extra bulky, but I want something a little bit with like smaller stitches and just another option to wear, a more neutral option, but I don't want to knit a whole Musselburgh in one color. I love knitting with variegated yarn. I love how just watching it knit up and where the colors are matching up. Like this tee was so fun to knit, just to see where the pinks and the blues and the whites just end up. I love that process. So I am really enjoying my Musselburgh hat. Like, look at that, beautiful variegation, very light. Got some green and pink and purple, and what other colors? I think that's mostly it. I am using magic loop, as you can see, using 3mm needles. For the cast on, I just did a normal magic loop in the round, and then I used the tail end to close up the hole in the middle. I've heard that other cast-ons are pretty fiddly, and I thought the magic loop, just normal cast-on, was so fiddly. So I can't imagine doing any of the other ones that I've heard some things about. But yeah, happy with how it's turning out. I think I have one more increase to go, and then I'm just on stockinette for a while. I do wish I had 16-inch or 11-inch circulars for these 3mm needles, because I do not, and I don't want to buy any just for this project. So I think I'm just going to do magic loop through the whole hat, which I don't mind magic loop if it's with the Chow-Goo needles, so I think it'll be fine. But yeah, just working on this slowly, a row here and a row there. And I started this 3 days ago, and let's see how far we get next week. I gotta add a progress keeper to this. Let's see, which progress keeper should we do? I think it's appropriate to do a snowflake progress keeper for the yarn that's I Smell Snow. So yeah, that is my Musselburgh hat in Treehouse Knits yarn. Very excited to have this for the winter. I have one last thing to show you. I got buttons for the Kaleidoscope cardigan. They came. I sewed them on with some random button thread I found in my closet that I think was thrifted. But yeah, let me show you. These are the buttons that I chose. They're just some pearl buttons I got in a pack from Amazon that were cheap. But they don't really feel like plastic, but if they are, that's like a heavy stone type plastic. I'm really happy with the quality. I'm really happy with the colors. I think it looks great on this cardigan. It's a great neutral for it. I will say that this cardigan doesn't have buttonholes that you put in because the fabric is thick and has holes already in it. You can just put the button through whatever hole you want. But I find that I definitely have to use a mirror to make sure the buttons are looking straight and I'm putting it where it needs to go. So I do kind of wish there were buttonholes just so I know where to put the button every time. And because of that, I don't know how much I will keep buttoning it up and unbuttoning it. I might just keep it closed for a while and then open it up for a while. But very happy with how it's sitting, very happy with how the buttons look. I have worn this at least once a day since I finished it, and yeah, I'm just very happy with how it turned out. Very happy with the buttons after the long saga of button shopping that was last week. So just wanted to give you a quick update on that Kaleidoscope cardigan. All right, it is a short episode today. I did not jinx myself in the beginning, did I? Honestly, I just have been plugging away, haven't had a lot of new things going, just working on my works in progress. You guys already know a lot of the details if you've been watching. So yeah, and I know you all have busy lives to get to, so I don't feel bad about having a shorter video this week. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please comment and let me know what you are knitting, what you're working on, if you have knit any of the things that I have showed and what your experience was like. I would love to know. Any and all advice I am very welcome to, because I'm still learning as a knitter. I'm just very happy that you're here. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. You can find me also on Ravelry. I have a link in my description box. I keep that incredibly updated. I am obsessed with Ravelry and my project pages and even my stash. I have my entire yarn stash on there except for like scraps. But if you're ever interested, take a look at that. Also, if you want links to the patterns and yarns that I use, check out my Ravelry. You can also follow me on Instagram, where you'll see more updates from me in my Instagram stories, as well as some posts about some knitting books that I have enjoyed and projects that I've finished. I think that that's it. So I wish you a joyful making this week. I hope that you are knitting what is bringing you joy, and I will catch you next time. Bye.